17 seconds, 100 yards. That is the distance and the delay between a minor clash nobody noticed and a finish that would have sent Lionel Messi's Argentina packing. And somehow, that is the reason it never stood.
Egypt held the advantage. Egypt soared. And then a French referee stared at a monitor and decided that a physical challenge deep inside their own half, almost a third of a minute earlier, mattered more than the ball ripping into the back of the net. You have witnessed odd video reviews before. You have never witnessed an intervention like this. This transpired on July 7th, 2026, round of 16, Atlanta Stadium. The defending champions, global heavyweights, collided with a squad that sports analysts wrote off before kickoff. By the time the whistle blew, half the internet screamed that the tournament was corrupt, while the other half circulated edited footage that was absolute garbage. Both sides missed the real story, but one element was very real.
Let's dissect exactly what happened. The narrative circulating online is not the actual drama that unfolded on that grass. Picture the atmosphere. Atlanta is roaring, nearly 70,000 voices shaking the concrete. On one side, the blue and white stripes carrying the pressure of an expectant nation. On the other side, the pharaohs, structured, defiant, and completely unfazed. Hussam Hassan spent the week drawing up a blueprint to suffocate Argentina's creativity. He deployed a compact shape, forcing their midfield into crowded avenues. He did not come to survive, he came to conquer. 15th minute, Egypt strikes first. Yasser Ibrahim leaps above a sleeping defense, connects with a corner kick, and buries his header. 1-0. The underdogs lead. Cairo erupts. The champions, anchored by the greatest creator of his generation, stare down an immediate deficit. In Argentina's path back, a gift from the spot, a penalty kick, the ultimate lifeline, a chance for Messi to restore parity from 12 yards, the most routine strike in his arsenal. He fumbled. Mostafa Choubert guessed correctly and parried it. That failure cemented Messi as the first player in World Cup history to squander 2 penalties in a single tournament. Think about that. The man who converted more pressure strikes than anyone alive fumbled the one shot that should have been routine, twice. So how does a squad that secured an early lead and stonewalled the greatest player on earth end up submitting a formal protest to FIFA just 1 day later? Subscribe to this channel right now, because these are the concrete dramas that get buried under manufactured outrage while the real story escapes through the back door. The opening half concludes. Egypt maintains the advantage. And then, the 58th minute arrives, the flashpoint that shattered this entire match. Mostafa Ziko fires. 2-0. Hard to imagine. The Egyptian bench explodes. Substitutes race to the corner flag, arms outstretched, the entire stadium tilting toward beautiful, unscripted chaos. It was alive. It was actually happening. Then the cold hand of technology intervened. François Letexier, the French official running the whistle, receives a crackle in his earpiece. The video assistant wants him to review the play, not the goal-scoring sequence itself, not a potential offside on the run. Instead, they demand he examine a physical challenge that occurred nearly 20 seconds earlier, deep inside their own territory, at the complete opposite end of the grass. A challenge where Marwan Atiyah dispossessed Lisandro Martinez during the initial build-up. Letexier walks to the sideline monitor. He watches the slow-motion loop. He returns to the pitch. He waves his arms to disallow the goal. Gone. Just like that. An infraction committed that far from goal, that long before the finish, and it wipes out a legitimate knockout goal? When did you last see a referee trace an attacking phase back through multiple transitions from a third of a minute earlier? That ruling ignited the fuse. Although the official rules define this under the attacking phase of play protocol, the decision still sparked debate. It defies logic. But here is the notable thing. Egypt did not fold. They did not capitulate under the weight of that disappointment. They fought right back. 10 minutes later, with 67 minutes on the stadium clock, Ziko strikes again. This time, he leaves no room for doubt. No monitor, no review, no endless checking. 2-0, a clean, undeniable finish. The exact margin that was stripped away from them moments before earned all over again through pure grit. You could feel the belief surging through the Egyptian players. A historic upset was not just a dream anymore. It was staring them right in the face. And that intense belief is precisely what makes the final act of this match so devastating. 79th minute, Christian Romero climbs high, meets a curling delivery, and nods it home. Who delivered the ball? Messi. The assist, the man who fumbled from the spot earlier, now dragging his nation forward by sheer force of personality. 2-1, you could hear the atmosphere shift. 83rd minute, Messi strikes once more. This time, his own name flashes on the big screen. He fires the equalizer. 2-2, and that strike carried a historic weight with it. Career World Cup goal number 21 for Lionel Messi. A total that elevates him into a stratosphere that normal athletes can only dream of. The Great Escape is on. The stadium is a wall of sound. And Egypt, who held a dominant 2-goal lead, who earned that advantage, are suddenly clinging to survival with everything they have left.
Do you know how long it took Argentina to completely reverse this? 13 minutes. 3 goals, no reply. A squad that looked utterly defeated revived itself in the time it takes to walk to the concession stand. That is the mark of champions. That is the genius of Messi. But it is also what happens when the small decisions and marginal challenges start leaning entirely in one direction.
Then came stoppage time. The final blow. 3rd minute of added time. 93rd on the clock. Enzo Fernandez leaps for a header and directs it into the corner. 3-2. Argentina leads for the first time all evening. Egypt's players collapse to the turf, staring at a defeat they will be dissecting in their nightmares for decades. But look at what Egypt says happened before that winner. Egypt argued that Hamdi Fathi was pulled down by Alexis Mac Allister inside the penalty area, denying them a penalty kick. And moments prior, a heavy collision on Mohamed Salah never even prompted a whisper from the review booth. See the contradiction? The play that would have extended Egypt's lead was traced back to a minor contact at the opposite end. Why did one require a deep review while the other got absolute silence? Classic double standard. If this blatant inconsistency makes your blood boil, if you can see how thin the margin was between historic triumph and robbery, take a fraction of a second to hit that like button. It helps push this breakdown to sports fans who watched that match and knew something was deeply broken. Now we must address the moment that transformed this match from a standard refereeing controversy into an international scandal. During those final minutes, coach Hussam Hassan crossed his forearms into an X over his chest. This was not a tantrum. It is FIFA's own designated signal, engineered for players or coaches to formally report racist abuse to the referee. FIFA built an entire, multi-stage anti-racism protocol around that exact movement. There is a structured protocol that referees are expected to follow, though they still retain the ultimate discretion to evaluate the situation before initiating these steps. And what was Letexier's response? He brandished a yellow card. He booked the manager. He punished the man for utilizing the exact protective measure FIFA designed and promoted. The governing body invents a mechanism to protect its athletes and staff, and when a manager actually deploys it under extreme duress, the match official penalizes him for it. How does the safety net FIFA plasters across its campaigns get dismissed when it matters most? That is not a minor error. That is the complete dismantling of the sport's ethical framework. The anti-racism protocol was treated like an annoyance. The squad did not hold back their fury either. Mostafa Ziko, the winger who scored 2 brilliant goals but was only permitted to keep 1, went straight to the microphones post-match. His statement was sharp. "Congratulations to Argentina," he told the assembled media. The tournament was rigged. They didn't need anything else. That is an active professional athlete accusing the entire global governing body of corruption. On camera, while the sweat is still drying on his shirt. You can feel the devastation beneath the anger. But this is where we have to be careful. This is where the narrative got hijacked by the worst elements of the internet. Ziko called it rigged. His coach signaled abuse. But an emotional accusation is not concrete proof. No evidence of match fixing exists. Egypt's grievance about officiating is valid, specific, and deserves a transparent hearing. But the word rigged is a claim born from raw pain, not fact. Hold both realities in your head. And that distinction became important because of the storm that erupted across social media platforms immediately after the game. This brings us to the actual greatest falsehood of this entire saga. Within a few hours of the final whistle, edited clips began spreading rapidly. They purported to show FIFA president Gianni Infantino looking nervous in the VIP suite, allegedly celebrating Argentina's goals, and supposedly reacting with visible panic when Messi fumbled his penalty. Millions of views, hundreds of thousands of shares, people pointing at their screens, claiming they had the definitive smoking gun that the tournament was corrupt. It was not completely manufactured, but rather consisted of authentic footage presented entirely out of context. Those uploads were actually recycled clips from other matches within the same tournament, cleverly stitched together to construct a false narrative. Infantino reacting to this game? Complete fiction. The evidence that convinced a large portion of the footballing world? Fraudulent media. Recycled tape designed to farm outrage and capitalize on the emotions of heartbroken fans. And look at the damage that does. It completely undermines the legitimate grievances of the Egyptian team. They had a strong case regarding that video review, the ignored anti-racism protocol, and the unreviewed challenge on Salah. Real, tangible issues. But the moment the conversation got flooded with doctored uploads, the entire narrative shifted into conspiracy land. It allowed the decision-makers to shrug and dismiss the entire protest as internet hysteria. The dishonest media did not support Egypt. It buried their genuine struggle under a mountain of clickbait. Because when you attempt to prove a real injustice using edited fabrications, you guarantee that nobody will listen to your legitimate arguments. On July 8, 2026, the Egyptian Football Association took formal action. They stopped venting to the press and submitted an official complaint directly to FIFA. They demanded an investigation into what they described as a flagrant double standard. More than that, they formally requested the immediate expulsion of the entire refereeing crew from the World Cup. They did not want a suspension. They wanted them sent home in disgrace. That is the level of fury we are talking about. The response from the governing body was swift and unyielding. On July 9, 2026, the famous Pierluigi Collina, acting as FIFA's refereeing chief, stood before the media to defend his team. He asserted that the match officials operated with absolute, unquestionable independence. He dismissed the allegations of bias as completely groundless. Case closed. Move along. That left us with an unusual standoff. A national federation demanding severe professional consequences, and the most powerful refereeing executive in the world, warning of the dangerous real-world consequences of making baseless accusations. Zero dialogue in between. And that is the issue that football's power brokers refuse to address. You can look at the strict, literal wording of the rules and try to defend that automated review, but you cannot look at how those rules were applied and call it consistent. Tracing a sequence back through multiple possessions to find a minor trip, while ignoring a clear collision at the other end of the pitch in the final seconds of a knockout match is not consistent. It is a complete failure of common sense. When you look back at that warm night in Atlanta, there are two distinct images from the final whistle that tell the entire story of this historic clash. The first image is Lionel Messi on the grass, sobbing, not celebrating, breaking down. The weight of global expectation, the pain of the fumbled spot kicks, the terror of a near elimination, it all poured out. Even in victory, the match took an immense toll on the icon. The second image is Mohamed Salah. His teammates are white with rage, gathered around the officials, shouting, ready to boil over. And what is Salah doing? He is physically pulling them back. He is standing between his teammates and the refereeing crew. He is demanding composure. Despite the heartbreak, Salah did the opposite. Despite the heartbreak, Salah did the opposite. He pulled his teammates away from the referees and shook hands with the match officials himself. That is leadership. That is a captain holding himself to a higher standard when the world collapses. One icon departs the pitch weeping with relief. The other departs weeping with the heavy pain of injustice. And the dividing line between those two fates was a series of choices made by officials who insist everything went perfectly according to the manual. This game deserved a far better legacy. It featured an athlete fighting to preserve his final World Cup dream, a tactically brilliant underdog squad playing the match of their lives, and 5 goals packed with drama. It should be remembered as a classic of the modern era. Instead, it is forever stained by the controversy surrounding a pitchside monitor. We cannot let the fabricated online narratives dictate how we remember this match. Do not let those doctored uploads convince you that this was just a cartoonish, pre-planned conspiracy. Because when you focus on the fake stories, you let the real institutional failures off the hook. The review that went back nearly 20 seconds was real. The refusal to acknowledge the manager's anti-racism signal was real. The unreviewed challenge on Salah in the build-up to the winner was real. Those are the genuine questions that demand real answers from the people who run the sport. Egypt did not need edited clips or online lies to prove they were wronged. They had a 2-goal lead, an impressive performance, and an injustice on the pitch, and they still walked off that grass with their heads held high. If you believe the integrity of the sport matters more than the names on the back of the shirts, if this deep dive opened your eyes to what actually happened in Atlanta, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments below, do you think the automated review system is actively destroying the passion of the game, or is it just the people running the monitors? We want to hear your thoughts.